is what do you all think that our world would look like if we did eliminate these injustices, right? Like if we sort of move past all of the violence and trauma that's been inflicted on our people, what would our world look like? And anybody can answer that.
Different. I mean, really, that's the best thing I can think of. I mean, it's what you just described is utopia, and that's I guess that is the end goal of the work that that we do, that the people, hopefully the people in the audience are concerned about. But yeah, that's a world without racism, without classism, without homophobia, without all of these different forms of violence that exist. Whether it's physical violence, emotional, psychological. Yeah, that would be a utopic world, and yeah.
I'm gonna, I need to personalize your question a little bit because my world as a Pittsburgher is Pittsburgh. So what would Pittsburgh look like if we didn't have any of the racial injustices that we see? And in my opinion, I think Pittsburgh would look completely different. We would have a black middle class neighborhood. We would be able to see black people, all black people, and people of color thriving. And seeing it is important because we do have black people, black professionals that are working towards the common good, but we're invisible because, and I hear that a lot, Pittsburgh doesn't have a black middle class neighborhood. In many ways, in Homewood, I created like a safe space for African Americans, but also just for all people, but in particular, the Community Engagement Center that Pitt opened, that I helped to open, truly looks like the community, but that's just a very small footprint. So I almost feel like in that space, I helped to create a utopia, but the second we walk outside the doors, it's Homewood, so there are a lot of issues and disparities. I don't really need to go down the long list because I feel like the other panel really spoke to what those issues and disparities are. But in Pittsburgh, you would see more black people thriving. You would, just to echo the gender equity report that came out, you would see black women that dying from childbirth or having complications from childbirth. I mean, there are so many things that I believe that in my world, I probably would be in a different line of work. I probably wouldn't have the job that I have right now if things were better, if we didn't have to worry about racism here.
So, that's a loaded question because the first thing I thought was, then what would I fight? What would I be fighting for? Yeah, so my mind went to, what would I be fighting for if it was a equal playing field here in Pittsburgh for black and brown people, for women, black women, if it was an equal playing field. What else would I be doing? Because right now the fight is like 365, to educate and make sure that, that we're at the table, and if we're not at the table, we're definitely gonna be on the menu, because that's exactly what happened, what happens if us as black women, black men, our black young men, our black young women, our brown, our LGBTQ, our people with different ideas, different agendas, different visions. If we are not at the table, we are definitely on the menu, So I think that I would probably cry a lot, that like this, my fight didn't go in vain, or our fights didn't go in vain, but it's so hard. That's a question that's just like, I think I will be gone. I think my great-grandson will probably, who I worry about. Like that's the age bracket that I worry about a lot. What's it gonna look like? So I don't know. That's a question that I would love to. I don't want to think about that too long, because then you get comfortable in knowing that it's not reality. You know, so.
I'll save you, Justin. No, as I was just sitting here thinking, honestly, I was just like thinking like it would look like liberation, it would look like healing, it would feel like love, it would like smell like the beach to me. You know, it just really makes me think of a place I want to be all the time. A place that I feel welcomed, a place that I feel safe, a place that I want to run to and stay forever. And I think that's the world we're trying to create for our children.
I think just building off of all the comments, but also things coming about utopia. And I don't know if utopias are real, and so maybe they don't exist. Maybe we're always going to be struggling. There's always going to be light, dark. There's always going to be balance. There's always going to be some challenges. But I think one thing maybe it could look like in terms of a process might be things like our processes in general, like try to restrain capital, or name whiteness, or think about reparations in the work, decentralized authority. Like maybe we could just figure out what kind of process we want to be in to actually try to make spaces more just, but no, there's likely going to be some pushing from the other side. But what are our definitions of the spaces that we want, and could we agree on some principles of the spaces, knowing that those spaces are going to still be contested spaces, because that's just a part of a larger order that I don't know anyone has actually ever achieved this place where that doesn't exist. And I've heard people say utopias are inspirational, but they can also, I think, leave us feeling a little like dejected at the years when we're still struggling with them. So I do think there's another side to utopias.
Hey there, everyone. When you asked the question, I thought of this, like, I think it was like a Living Single episode, and somebody said to Queen Latifah, like, what would the world be like without men? And she said something like, oh, a bunch of happy fat women just living life. And I'm not saying that's the utopia. However, it could be like patriarchy, but I think, when you think about what does the world look like without all of these systems of oppression, like to really just have a moment to sit with that. I think do we give ourselves in this day, in this current moment, as we do this work, time to vision? Do we ever take time to vision, to just sit and imagine? So that's one thing that I would ask. Do we take time to imagine what it would feel like to be free? What it would feel like to not be afraid? What it would feel like to be confident? What it would feel like to not be small in all the ways that, big systems make us small, but then also interrelation, our relationships with one another can be so harmful as well, or dehumanizing. But, I think about what came to mind is that we live on this amazing planet, and there would be enough of everything, enough water, enough food, enough space. And, when I think about all of the things that were all across the world, people are uprising and people are trying to live to their full potential, and so many different things in their day-to-day are keeping them from that. And I'm like, all of these problems we can solve these problems. I don't know of any problem that I've heard of that I'm like, we can't change it. So that's something that is hopeful, that it's possible to change. And so I think that change would be possible. I think that there would be a lot of happy, fat people and people of all bodies who would be loved and seen and held. There would be people of all genders that didn't have to worry about expressing themselves and being in space. People of all colors, you know, would be seen, and their colors would be seen, and people would say, I don't see color, people would see them. And also black people, though, you know, black people would be seen and honored and respected and cared for and be treated with humanity. And I think what's beautiful about the time that we're existing in is that the black people I know and our ancestors, the people who've come before us, like, we've always been striving to, like, live in our humanity and see our humanity and celebrate that, but I think we still are even trying to imagine what is it to actually live in the fullness of your humanity and to be completely joyful and to really be in that. And so, yeah, I don't have one particular response, but I do imagine that you wouldn't be so afraid